Jurassic Park is what can truly only be described as a generational movie. It came out at a very experimental time for cinema. Every genre was thriving, with countless action hits, fantasy movies that are still beloved to this day, even iconic horror movies that have become mainstays in pop culture. The scape could have gone either way, and who could have possibly known that Steven Spielberg, the man famous for pioneering the modern blockbuster with Jaws, would soon work on another masterpiece, this time based on a novel. Now, I was not born in 1983. Unfortunately, I would have really liked to see the Super Mario Bros. Movie opening day. But alas, so I cannot tell you how public reactions were at the time, or how quickly it became a hit. But I know that I've always had a thirst and love for knowledge about dinosaurs. I used to rent books at the library to learn about the different species. I'd talk about them endlessly, and it led me to being completely enraptured by Jurassic Park. The presentation to the movie, the build-up, was truly like no other. The whimsical and iconic expedition through a reflection of a world thought long since gone, a magical score that still contains one of the most compelling pieces of music ever composed. I truly believe that Jurassic Park alone is responsible for many of the paleontologists of today. I know I wanted to become one for a while. Not to mention just how well the practical effects have held up, even with the additional CGI to work in tandem with them. The insanely talented team working on this project created a one-of-a-kind movie that grabbed the attention of audiences of all ages, and to this day it remains, in my eyes, a perfect movie. Unfortunately, the topic of this video is not about Jurassic Park, as much as I'd like to rewatch and talk about it. No, instead, we have the latest addition in the Jurassic franchise, Jurassic World, Dinosaur in Time or whatever. Even despite my deep love for the first Jurassic Park movie, I don't harbour any grudges towards the idea of making sequels to it. After all, I still think The Lost World is a fun entry in the series that doesn't hit the same highs as the first movie, but delivers a pretty solid narrative with some iconic scenes and performances. And I am a bit of a Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom defender, but I'm sure that'll be for another time. Honestly, I've made a lot of videos recently where I've talked about other entries in a series to the point where I should probably just make ranking videos alongside the reviews, but I digress. Jurassic World Rebirth follows Scarlett Johansson as Scarlett Johansson. No, I will not call her by anything else. She gets approached by Martin Krebs of a pharmaceutical company known as Parkagenics. Because we can always trust pharmaceutical companies, right, Umbrella Corporation? Please send help. She's told that they want to cure heart disease because it kills 20% of humanity, and that they plan to do so if she can get 3 samples of 3 different specific dinosaurs that have the largest cardiac muscles, and that they'll pay her 10 mil for said samples. ScarJo wants that moolah, so accepts, getting put on a team with Dr. Henry Loomis, the dinosaur expert, who explains each species they're looking to go after. Because for some reason, they can't just use one dinosaur's cardiac muscles. Like you could still get multiple samples from the same dinosaur species too. You don't need to just take the one. It'd be much easier than trying to find all 3 species, but okay, I guess. Oh, also, these 3 species need to be the dinosaurs with the largest cardiac muscles that inhabit air, land, and water. Clearly, they need to tailor the vaccine to people that live on air and sea too, because that fucking happens. Since this movie loves to drag out scenes with pointless interactions and stale, unfunny humour, it meanders along as ScarJo grabs a couple of mechs she used to work with. Then wham bam, thank you ma'am, we have our team to go fucking murder some innocent dinosaurs for money. I don't think Sauron will be happy with this, but he also could have just chosen to cure heart disease himself, probably. Anyway, this premise is extremely simple and also boring. It's presented as a fetch quest with arbitrary limitations, and that is exactly what it is. Why are we hunting the Mosasaurus and Quetzalcoatl Northropi, despite them being much harder to deal with compared to the Titanosaurus? Because then we get cool scenes for the movie, dummy! For what it's worth, though, I did genuinely feel most engaged with the movie when Dr. Loomis was explaining the different dinosaurs and their history. Maybe it's the dinosaur nerd in me, but I don't care. I also hope Mr. DNA returns one day. Let him break the fabric of holographic reality like Miss Minutes from Loki. I don't care. I need to hear him say, dinosaur. Anyway, the plot really doesn't change from this. There's no real bumps in the road that change the characters' motivations or the priorities. Unlike the first movie where everyone realizes, holy shit, this was a terrible idea. Let's fucking leave. Even after bodies start piling up in the dinosaur bellies, our heroic characters who have been long-time friends will stare sadly into the distance and say something that they think is profound, before moving on immediately. All anyone really cares about in this movie is getting the samples, regrouping with the other characters, or trying to leave. And none of this even causes conflict between the group. All of the character motivations are useless and don't serve a purpose for any kind of ethical or logical debates about getting the fuck out of here. There's also several contrivances in the plot, like characters randomly stumbling upon items or areas that were key for them to survive, and the main human villain being the one to come across a gun, and one that is actually loaded. But overall, there's not even much I can say about the general plot of this movie. It's formulaic, it's dull, but it serves its purpose, I guess. It's not the worst aspect of the movie, but it's still not trying to do anything unique, which is quite saddening. I don't want to be a complete negative Nancy though. At least not yet. So I will talk about some positives about this movie first. I think the cinematography works really well in some instances. I love when horror-adjacent movies have scenes where the villain or monster is doing something in the background. Halloween and It are my two favourite examples of this, and even when it's something that's drawn attention to more than that, it works well for a wide shot in my opinion. There's a couple scenes that use this to their advantage, and one that does so in a pretty cool one-take kill. This combined with the score does add a little bit of seasoning to the rest of the movie. A flavorful punch that can hit the first time, but if there isn't enough sauce and substance, you can't save the dish. Okay, now I'm gonna go off. Literally everything else about this movie is either laughably awful or aggressively mid. The plot progression, the characters, the action, the scenes in a vacuum, it really just doesn't do anything. At least the past few movies, as divisive as they are, had impacts on the larger world of Jurassic. Now we just have a lame side story. It's genuinely like a fetch quest that you do in a video game and get rewarded with 50 rupees. Nobody's giving a particularly good performance. ScarJo is ScarJo. Mahershala Ali barely even gets to have a personality for his character, and he's the co-lead. The only thing we really learn about the two of them is that ScarJo lost her friend in a car accident, and Duncan Kincaid, Mahershala Ali's character, lost his son and split up with his wife because they kept getting reminded of him. But we're just told this in a random trauma dump therapy session between the two of them that is completely unprompted. ScarJo kind of has a personality. She's extremely happy and smiley throughout the whole movie, which doesn't really fit in my opinion. She's meant to be a hard-as-nails spec ops agent who has lost people in her past. And you could say that her always being so damn happy is a PTSD coping mechanism, but if so, it's a really poorly done one. It makes her seem apathetic to the deaths that are going on around her, and the danger that everyone has been placed in. And that's definitely not a good look for the main character of this movie. Dr. Loomis is the closest that comes to being likable, but mostly just because he's the moral compass of the movie who disagrees with the treatment of the dinosaurs and proprieting the heart medicine that would be made. But even then, there's not much exploration of his past and why he does what he does, what he still loves about dinosaurs, and what his plans for the future in his career are. And these are the main characters, let alone the side characters that so obviously get introduced to die. Seriously, as soon as we saw all the main characters, I picked exactly who would live and who would die, and I got it 100% right because of how predictable this plot is. Speaking of death too, the kills in this movie fucking suck. Of the ones that actually happen to a character we see right before the act, there are maybe 5. 3 of which happen off-screen, 2 in unsatisfying ways, but 1 in a pretty subtle and neat execution in my opinion. Even if the characters are too stupid to notice what I mean. Even the ones that we do see aren't very satisfying. One is basically a retreat of every pterosaur kill in Jurassic Park 3 onwards, and another a basic execution of a villain character. There's a distinct lack of power and fatality in the dinosaur motions, which really bug me throughout my watching experience. Honestly, this perpetuates through every dinosaur scene in the movie. There's so many where a character barely escapes the jaws of a dinosaur, but not in a way that felt like the dinosaur committed to chomping down before focusing on where the target is. More like they were too busy nipping at their ankles for 2 minutes, giving them ample time to escape and avoid you. Seriously, all of the power and animalistic brutality feels gone from all the carnivorous dinosaur interactions, except when this T-Rex goes fucking ham on a life raft, and it doesn't even pop it because this movie fucking hates me. But you can't even describe this as dumb fun with cool dinosaur action like people were expecting it to be. Because the dinosaur scenes aren't even good themselves. As much as I dislike the tell, don't show nature of Jurassic World 1, it does a lot better job of having memorable dinosaur sequences. This movie just has multiple derivative scenes that made me cringe, frankly. The cold open is clearly ripped from the first movie and executed in a much more inferior way, and shows me that I was right and totally not paranoid when I said Snickers were evil. There's a hanging off the side of a cliff while attacked by a dinosaur scene from Jurassic Park 2. There's a pterosaur attacks in a small location and pushes its beak through every time from Jurassic Park 3. The character guides a dinosaur away from people with a flare. And even the fucking people hide in a multi-aisle room and move from cover to cover to be stealthy and evade the dinosaurs trying to consume them. or just talk about their niche and boring special interest, which is ripped from every movie but mostly the first one. The marketing for this movie was also really funny because the trailer dropped and my friend thought it looked good. I knew it'd be bad because I have a 7 cent for this. Don't ask about my 6th. God forbid I have secrets. But just seeing the posters that are 70% ScarJo, all the memes about her being bigger and more intimidating than dinosaurs, and that Mahershala Ali was forgotten again, much like how Marvel forgot he was playing Blade, it was all an incredible experience that you had to be there for. The best part of this, though, is the official Jurassic World Rebirth Twitter account posting about how we should protect Dolores at all costs, Dolores being a boringly designed baby dinosaur befriended by the daughter of this random family who get pulled into the movie, who I haven't talked about because they hardly have any stake in the story, nor matter at all despite taking up so much fucking screen time. They actually have the closest thing to a character arc, but also the worst parts of the forced comedic moments. Anyway, people were quick to post about how they don't know, nor care, who Dolores is, starting all kinds of memes about it. And yeah, I can safely say, none of this shit worked. ScarJo and Dr. Loomis also have like 2 interactions where they just debate releasing the samples to open source medical professionals who can create the heart disease vaccine and not drive up the price extremely highly. And while this might seem noble, it kinda comes out of nowhere considering they both agreed to work with Krebs and get paid for it, and then grew a conscience because movie, I guess. It sucks because there is some substance for better characters below the surface in scenes like this. I think them leaning into ScarJo's PTSD a lot more and making her shut down would greatly improve her character. She starts off just wanting the cash to never have to deal with being a mech again, ignoring all the other characters, acting like she doesn't care about them. But then she starts to talk to Dr. Loomis more and grows to care for him. Not in a romantic way. I was very, very scared the movie would do that, and I'm at least thankful they didn't. And then open up to him. He gets put in danger and she fulfills a character arc by saving him the way she couldn't save a friend from that car bomb. But no, we just get fake out deaths and DCU-ass joke timing
Booyah.
that creates such tonal whiplash that nothing even made sense to me anymore. Especially with all the stupid decisions the characters make, splitting up when they shouldn't, completely ignoring their surroundings and freezing at the worst moments, yet they still go unpunished most of the time. There are some instances where the absolute idiotic hubris do get people killed, and the movie doesn't even acknowledge it. But I'm just repeating the hate that I garner towards this. So let's end it swiftly. It's more than this movie deserves, but I must be better. For its incredibly lame scene ideas, bad character writing, and forced emotional and comedic moments, underwhelming action, and dinosaur designs and activity portrayal, as well as a boring and uninteresting story that adds nothing to the overarching lore of the series, even with the solid cinematography and score designs in places, I cannot put this movie at anything other than a 4 out of 10. It's not worth the watch, and you should rewatch the first movie again. Hi everyone, I wanted to thank you for watching this thing I made, but also for sticking with me through my awful schedule. I've had plenty of videos I've wanted to work on, and currently am. I have like 3 scripts written, and twice that in the works, but I've been getting burnt out with some stuff and dealing with obstacles in life. I still love doing this and will continue. More movie, show, and game reviews coming soon, with a new series of my own in the works of course. So please, stay tuned, thank you, and have a wonderful day.